Admiral William Carter stood alone at the viewport of the diplomatic vessel, watching the stars. In 6 hours, he would either secure humanity's place among the galactic community or end 3 years of increasingly pointless talks. The ship's soft lighting reflected on his weathered face, lines earned from 30 years of military service, and now 3 more of diplomatic strain. "Admiral, we're approaching Proxima Station," said Lieutenant Roy Wilson from behind him. "The council is already assembled." Carter nodded without turning. "And our fleet?" "Positioned exactly as ordered, sir, just beyond sensor range." "Good." Carter finally turned, straightening his dark blue uniform. "No one moves unless I give the signal." The diplomatic team gathered in the ship's conference room. 5 humans representing Earth and its colonies, facing what could be their final meeting with the Galactic Council. Ambassador Diane Powell reviewed her notes one last time, her gray hair pulled back tightly. "They're going to ask for the lunar bases again," she said. "Intelligence suggests they won't budge on this point." Carter looked at each face around the table. "Then neither will we." The human vessel docked at Proxima Station, an enormous structure built by the combined efforts of 17 alien species. Its massive rings rotated slowly, creating artificial gravity. Everywhere Carter looked, he saw reminders of how small humanity was in the greater galaxy. And how new. Aliens of every description moved through the crowded docking area, many glancing at the humans with barely concealed disdain. Inside the council chamber, 17 representatives sat in elevated positions around a central speaking floor. Their seating arrangements weren't random. The oldest and most powerful species occupied the highest seats. Humans, as newcomers, were assigned a spot near the bottom. High Chancellor Yulofen, a tall being with shimmering blue skin and 4 arms, called the session to order. "Representatives of Earth, we have reviewed your latest proposals. They remain unsatisfactory." Carter stepped forward instead of Ambassador Powell, causing a small stir among the council members. This wasn't protocol. "Chancellor, with respect, we have spent 3 years making concessions. We have shared medical technology, allowed inspections of our military installations, and opened our markets to council trade despite unfavorable terms. Yet each time we meet, you demand more while offering less." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Councillor Zixvar, representative of the Satani Empire, leaned forward. His insect-like face clicked with irritation. "Perhaps the humans need reminding of their position," Zixvar said. "Your species only achieved faster-than-light travel less than a century ago. Many of us were exploring the stars when your kind still lived in caves." Carter kept his face neutral despite the insult. He had expected this. "Your latest proposals are rejected," continued Zixvar. "Instead, we propose that Earth surrenders administrative control of its lunar colonies as a gesture of goodwill. The Council will oversee these territories to ensure they are developed according to galactic standards." The chamber fell silent. Even some council members looked uncomfortable with the demand. Carter stood perfectly still for 30 seconds. When he finally moved, it was to remove the silver diplomatic pin from his collar. He placed it on the polished stone table with a small click that echoed in the quiet room. "Humanity withdraws from these negotiations," he said, his voice calm but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "Effective immediately, all human territories are closed to council representatives. Any vessels attempting to enter our space will be turned back." Chancellor Yulofen rose to his full height. "Admiral Carter, this emotional display is unbecoming of." "This is not emotion, Chancellor. This is decision. For 3 years, we have tried to earn your respect through patience and compromise. We now understand this approach has failed." As Carter and his team turned to leave, Ambassador Powell whispered, "They think this is just a negotiating tactic." Carter shook his head slightly. "No, Diane. It's the beginning of something they can't comprehend." The human delegation walked out of the council chamber, ignoring the calls to return. As the massive doors closed behind them, Carter activated his secure communicator. "Execute Protocol Omega. All ships, All stations. We're on our own now. The council chambers erupted into chaos the moment the human delegation left. Representatives from 17 species talked over each other, some amused, others concerned. High Chancellor Yulofen raised all four of his arms to restore order, his blue skin pulsing with irritation. Silence. His voice boomed through the circular hall. The noise died down quickly. Councillor Zixvar of the Satani Empire clicked his mandibles in what passed for laughter among his kind. The humans will return within days. Their economy cannot survive without our trade routes. Most of the council nodded in agreement. Humans were new to the galactic community, their technology primitive by comparison. Many councillors viewed them as little more than clever animals who had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel before developing the wisdom to use it properly. Only Narration, the female representative of the Tellurian species, showed concern. Her silver eyes narrowed as she stood from her seat. "I have studied human history extensively," she said, her voice soft yet carrying across the chamber. "They do not make empty threats. When humans withdraw, they prepare." Zixvar waved one of his sharp limbs dismissively. "Prepare for what? Their ships are slow, their weapons outdated. They have nothing we need to fear. They fought 3 world wars among themselves before achieving unity," Narration countered. "Each time, they emerged with technological leaps no one predicted. I advise caution." Chancellor Yulofen considered her words briefly. "Your concern is noted, Representative Narration. It will be recorded in the official minutes. Now let us move on to more pressing matters." As the council shifted to other topics, Narration sat down, her warning promptly ignored. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Gregory Nelson stood before the United Nations Assembly in New York. Screens behind him showed Admiral Carter's confrontation with the Galactic Council, which had been transmitted back to Earth minutes earlier. The room was silent as 500 representatives from Earth nations watched the footage. "For 100 years, we reached for the stars hoping to find friendship," Nelson said, his voice steady. "Instead, we found condescension and demands. Today, we begin a new chapter, one where humanity stands alone but unbowed." The assembly erupted in applause. After decades of internal conflicts, humanity had finally found common ground in their treatment by the galactic community. "Effective immediately, I am authorizing Operation Silent Shield," Nelson continued when the noise died down. "All details are classified. But know this, we will not surrender our sovereignty to any power, terrestrial or otherwise." Across the solar system, human outposts received encrypted messages. Military bases went dark, cutting all communications with non-human entities. Research facilities began moving to secret locations deep within the asteroid belt. Civilian ships were recalled to Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies. In orbit around Jupiter, Admiral Carter's diplomatic vessel docked with the space station Olympus. He stepped through the airlock to find General Rebecca Johnson waiting. "Is it done?" she asked. Carter nodded. "The Council believes we'll come crawling back when our economy suffers." He handed her a data drive. "The President has authorized Project Phoenix. Full implementation." Johnson's expression remained neutral, but her eyes showed surprise. "That quickly? The estimates said we'd need at least 5 years, Toe." "We don't have 5 years," Carter interrupted. "Intelligence suggests the Satani are already planning to help manage our lunar colonies, with or without our consent." "The arrogance," Johnson shook her head. "They really believe we can't defend ourselves." Carter looked out the viewport at Jupiter's swirling clouds. "That's our advantage, Rebecca. They think they know our capabilities. They've never bothered to look deeper." On his secure tablet, Carter reviewed the first phase of humanity's response. Hundreds of ships were already moving to hidden shipyards. Thousands of scientists were being reassigned to classified projects. The massive industrial capacity of Earth and Mars was shifting to a war footing without appearing to do so. "How long before they realized their mistake?" Johnson asked. Carter's face showed no emotion, but determination filled his voice. long enough for us to make sure they never underestimate humanity again. 6 months passed without a single human diplomat contacting the Galactic Council. At first, council members joked about human stubbornness. By the 3rd month, the jokes stopped. By the 6th month, concern began to spread. Deep in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter, Captain Frank Winters supervised the conversion of mining platforms into shipyards. What had once been operations extracting metals from space rocks were now hidden factories building a new kind of vessel. "How many can we complete this month?" Winters asked the project manager beside him. Laura Davis checked her tablet. 15 Scout class and 3 Defender class. The new assembly method is working better than expected. They stood in an observation room overlooking a massive construction bay. Below them, hundreds of workers moved around a half-built ship unlike anything humans had created before. Its hull was darker than black, seeming to swallow light rather than reflect it. "And the phase shift drive?" Winters asked. Dr. Martinez reports success in the final tests. The prototype jumped from Earth to Neptune in under 3 minutes with 0 detection from our own monitoring stations. Winters nodded with satisfaction. The Council's scientists had deemed such technology theoretically impossible for humans to develop for at least another century. They were wrong. On Mars, inside a mountain that had been hollowed out and reinforced, General Samantha Rivera watched combat simulations. Soldiers in new powered armor moved through obstacle courses, jumping higher, moving faster, and hitting harder than unaugmented humans ever could. "Our soldiers have always been adaptable," she told her staff as they reviewed the data. "Now our technology will match their spirit." Colonel Jack Peterson nodded. "The neural interface is working perfectly. Reaction times are up 40%. And the weapons?" Peterson tapped his screen, bringing up test results. The particle beam rifles penetrated all known Council armor in simulations. The shield technology reverses their own energy weapons back at them. Rivera allowed herself a small smile. "Good. Let's hope we never need to use any of this. But if we do, we'll be ready," Peterson finished. Across human space, similar preparations continued in secret. Orbital defense platforms disguised as communication relays. Research stations developing technologies the Council believed were centuries beyond human capability. Every man and woman working on these projects understood the stakes, the independence of their species. In the Proxima Centauri system, home to the Galactic Council headquarters, Chancellor Ulofin finally admitted the situation required investigation. He authorized a diplomatic fleet to enter the Sol system and assess the human situation. 5 Council vessels approached Earth's solar system, broadcasting peaceful intentions. They found only automated beacons at the system's edge, transmitting the same message on repeat. Human space is closed to all non-human vessels. Violators will be treated as hostile. The fleet commander, a veteran Satani captain named Sarvul, scoffed at the warning. "Primitive intimidation tactics. Proceed to Earth at half speed." His second-in-command looked nervous. "Sir, perhaps we should respect They need our trade more than we need theirs," Sarvul interrupted. "This show of force will remind them of their place." The commander ordered one cruiser to cross the boundary as a demonstration of Council authority. The ship moved forward, passing the line of beacons. It vanished from sensors instantly. No explosion, no debris, no distress call. The cruiser and its crew of 300 simply disappeared. Panicked, the remaining ships scanned the area, finding nothing. Not even a trace of radiation or disturbed space. Whatever happened had been beyond their ability to detect or understand. Sarvul ordered an immediate withdrawal. His report to the Council would be simple but disturbing. Humans now possess technology that the Council's scientists couldn't explain. Back on Earth, in a hidden command center beneath the Pacific Ocean, Admiral Carter watched the incident through special long-range sensors. "Test successful," reported the officer monitoring the defense grid. The phase shield captured the vessel exactly as designed. It's now in holding position at the Jupiter facility. Carter nodded. Send our message to the crew. Explain that they violated our sovereign territory after clear warnings. They will be released unharmed at our borders in 7 days. And if the Council sends a larger fleet? Asked the officer. Carter's expression remained calm. Then we'll need to be more persuasive about our desire for privacy. 2 years passed since humanity withdrew from the peace talks. The Galactic Council had tried and failed to re-establish contact multiple times. Each diplomatic vessel that approached Earth's solar system encountered the same automated warning beacons. None dared cross the boundary after the first ship vanished. The Council officially declared human space a temporary exclusion zone and advised all galactic citizens to avoid the area. Many Council species began to forget about humans entirely, dismissing them as an isolationist species that would eventually collapse without galactic trade. In the Nerea system, far from both Earth and Council space, a Mindari science vessel called Stellar Seeker studied an unusual neutron star. The Mindari were known throughout the galaxy as brilliant scientists, but physically fragile beings with tall, thin bodies and large heads. Chief Scientist Kelnar monitored the star's strange radiation patterns when alarm sirens suddenly blared throughout the ship. Engine failure detected, announced the ship's computer. Gravitational anomaly affecting propulsion systems. The captain, Turlon, rushed to the bridge. Report. The navigator's voice shook with fear. Unknown gravitational distortion. We're being pulled toward the neutron star. Engines cannot compensate. Panic spread among the crew. The Mindari ship had accidentally crossed into a gravity well they hadn't detected. Without engine power, they would spiral into the neutron star and be crushed. Send distress signals on all frequencies, ordered Captain Turlon. Calculate time until impact. The communications officer worked quickly. Distress signal sending. Impact in 43 minutes. Turlon looked at his crew with sadness. They were too far from any Council outpost. No one would reach them in time. Continue sending the distress call, he said quietly, and begin emergency protocols. 20 minutes later, as the crew prepared for the inevitable, the sensors officer suddenly straightened in her seat. Captain, unknown vessel approaching at incredible speed. On the main screen, a sleek ship appeared, unlike any design the Mindari had seen before. Its hull was dark and smooth, with subtle blue lights along its edges. It moved with impossible grace, completely unaffected by the gravity well that trapped their own ship. They're hailing us, said the communications officer in disbelief. A human face appeared on the screen, a man with short brown hair and a neat beard. He wore a uniform of dark blue with silver trim. This is Captain Alan Foster of Earth Ship Defiance. We've detected your distress call. Prepare for emergency assistance. The Mindari crew stared in shock. Humans had been absent from galactic affairs for 2 years, and now one of their ships had appeared in this remote system. This is Captain Turlon of the Mindari science vessel Stellar Seeker. We are trapped in a gravity well and losing orbit. Impact with the neutron star in 22 minutes. Captain Foster nodded calmly. Understood. We're going to establish a phase tether to your vessel. You'll feel a slight vibration, but do not be alarmed. The Mindari had no idea what a phase tether was, but they had no other options. Moments later, their ship shuddered gently. On the sensors, they saw energy beams of unknown type connecting the human vessel to theirs. Tether established, said Foster. We're going to pull you out now. Impossibly, the Stellar Seeker began moving away from the neutron star, against the powerful gravity that had trapped it. The human ship guided them to safe space, its engines glowing with strange blue energy. Once they were clear of danger, Captain Foster sent a repair team to the Mindari vessel. 3 humans in specialized suits transferred over, carrying tools and equipment the Mindari scientists couldn't identify. In less than an hour, the humans had repaired the Mindari engines using technology that seemed decades beyond what humans had possessed when they withdrew from the Council. Before returning to his ship, Captain Foster handed Captain Turlon a small data crystal. Please deliver a message to your council, Foster said. Humanity remembers both kindness and cruelty. Tell your leaders, we've been busy. With that, the Earth ship Defiance activated its drives and vanished in a flash of blue light, faster than any council vessel could travel. The Mindari scientists studied their sensor readings in amazement. According to their calculations, the human ship had done things that council scientists had deemed theoretically impossible. The Mindari science vessel returned to Proxima Station with their incredible story and sensor data. At first, council scientists dismissed their readings as equipment errors. How could humans have developed such advanced technology in only 2 years? The phase tether and drive systems described by the Mindari were believed to be at least a century beyond human capability. High Chancellor Ulofin called an emergency council session after reviewing the data crystal the humans had given Captain Turlon. The contents weren't revealed publicly, but the Chancellor appeared deeply troubled. "We must reassess the human situation immediately," he announced to the gathered representatives. For 3 days, the council debated what to do about the humans. Some members argued for renewed diplomatic efforts. Others suggested military preparation. A few even proposed sending spies into human territory to steal their new technology. During the 4th day of debate, something unexpected happened. Every communication screen on Proxima Station activated simultaneously, showing the same image. A human woman in a crisp uniform standing in what appeared to be a control room. She had dark skin, short black hair, and a confident expression. "Greetings from Earth United," she said calmly. "I am Lieutenant Nicole Rodriguez. Our period of isolation ends today, but not our independence." Chancellor Ulofin and the council members rushed to the main communication center, where technicians were frantically trying to regain control of their systems. "How is she broadcasting on all channels?" demanded Zixbar. "Our security protocols should make this impossible." The technicians had no answers. On every screen, Lieutenant Rodriguez continued speaking. 2 years ago, we withdrew from negotiations because the Council refused to treat humanity as equals. Today, we return to demonstrate our new position in the galaxy. She paused, looking directly at the camera. "To demonstrate our capabilities, please observe your orbital defense grid." The council members hurried to the observation deck. Proxima Station was protected by hundreds of automated defense platforms, the most sophisticated security system in known space. As they watched, every single defense satellite powered down in perfect sequence. No alarms, no signs of hacking or weapons fire. They simply deactivated as if obeying a command. "Impossible," whispered Chancellor Ulofin. 3 ships appeared directly above the station, seemingly out of nowhere. They were human vessels, but far larger and more advanced than anything seen before. Their dark hulls reflected no light, making them look like ship-shaped holes in space. Blue energy pulsed along their sides. Inside the station, Lieutenant Rodriguez's broadcast continued. "We could have disabled your life support systems just as easily. We could have targeted your power cores. Instead, we chose a harmless demonstration." The defense platforms suddenly reactivated, returning to their normal operation, as if nothing had happened. "The Galactic Council no longer dictates terms to humanity," Rodriguez stated. "We are prepared to rejoin galactic society, but as equals, not as subjects." The 3 human ships vanished as suddenly as they had appeared, leaving no trace on council sensors. In the stunned silence that followed, Councillor Mirashan of the Tellurians finally spoke. "I warned you not to underestimate them. Humans don't make empty threats." Chancellor Ulofin turned to her, his blue skin pale with shock. "What do you suggest we do?" "Treat them with respect," she answered simply. "Before they decide we are not worth the effort." The council reconvened immediately. The debate was shorter this time. By unanimous vote, they agreed to send a diplomatic delegation to Earth with a formal apology and an offer of equal partnership. On Earth, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported to Admiral Carter in his office beneath the Pacific Ocean. "Demonstration completed successfully, sir." The message was delivered. Carter nodded. And our ships? The Defiance, Liberty, and Guardian performed perfectly. Captain Foster reports the new cloaking technology worked exactly as designed. Carter looked at the live feed from their spy satellites near Proxima Station. Council ships were already preparing for a diplomatic mission to Earth. So they finally understand, he said quietly. Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. Yes, sir. Though I believe this is just the beginning of their education. Carter nodded. Prepare to receive their delegation, but keep our fleet at ready status. Trust must be earned. As the Galactic Council prepared their diplomatic mission to Earth, an ancient threat emerged from the shadows. The Ravagers, a biomechanical species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, launched a surprise attack against 3 border systems simultaneously. These insect-like beings consumed all organic matter on planets they conquered, turning living worlds into barren factories for more of their kind. The Council's military forces were caught unprepared. Their fleet, once the most powerful in the galaxy, had grown complacent during centuries of peace. Ships were scattered across thousands of systems, many outdated or understaffed. On the Tellurian homeworld of Eridani IV, panic spread as Ravager ships appeared in orbit. The planet's defenses held for only 2 days before failing. Billions of refugees fled to neighboring systems as the Ravagers began their harvest. Chancellor Ulofin called an emergency session of the Council. Representatives from all 17 species gathered, their usual political differences forgotten in the face of extinction. The Ravagers have returned with forces not seen in 10 generations, Ulofin announced, his blue skin pale with stress. Our military analysts project they will reach Proxima Station within 2 months if unchecked. Councillor Zixvar's mandibles clicked nervously. What of the Kelshera system? It guards the approach to the Central Worlds. A military officer displayed a holographic map. Kelshera will be attacked within days. Our forces there are strong but insufficient against the Ravager numbers. Silence fell over the chamber as the implications became clear. If Kelshera fell, 5 more systems would be exposed, including major population centers. Narration of the Tellurians stood slowly. There is one option we have not considered. The humans. Murmurs filled the room. Zixvar clicked in disbelief. You suggest we beg for help from a species we dismissed as primitives. They have demonstrated technology beyond our own, Narration replied calmly. And the Ravagers threaten all life, human included. Chancellor Ulofin considered this briefly before nodding. We have no choice. Prepare a special envoy to Earth immediately. The fastest council ship available rushed toward the Sol system, carrying a formal request for aid against the Ravager threat. The envoy, a senior diplomat named Varkel, expected rejection or demands for concessions. Instead, he was immediately granted audience with President Gregory Nelson in the White House on Earth. Nelson, a tall man with gray hair and a serious expression, listened carefully to the envoy's explanation of the Ravager threat. These Ravagers, Nelson said when Varkel finished, they don't discriminate between our species, do they? They consume all life equally. That is correct, Mr. President, Varkel confirmed. They see all organic life as merely resources to harvest. Nelson nodded thoughtfully. While we have many grievances with the Council, we haven't forgotten our common humanity, our belief that life must stand together against extinction. He pressed a button on his desk. Admiral Carter deployed Battle Group Alpha to the Kelshera system. Full combat protocols authorized. Varkel was stunned. Just like that. No negotiations. No conditions. Nelson looked at the alien diplomat with serious eyes. There will be time for negotiating new relations after the immediate threat is contained. Right now, lives are at stake. Within 48 hours, a human battle group arrived at the Kelshera system, just as Ravager forces began their assault. 25 ships of the Earth fleet dropped out of phase space near the planet Kelshera Prime, where Council defenders were already engaged with the first wave of Ravager vessels. Admiral Patricia Wilson stood on the bridge of the flagship Intrepid, assessing the situation. The Council ships were fighting bravely, but were clearly outmatched by the Ravagers' superior numbers. Wilson opened a communication channel to the Council commander. "This is Admiral Patricia Wilson of Earth Fleet. We've arrived to assist. Fall back and regroup. We'll hold the line." The Council commander, a veteran Satani captain, stared at the human on his screen in disbelief. "You came," he said simply. Wilson nodded. "We did. Now let's show these Ravagers what happens when they threaten sentient life in this galaxy." She turned to her tactical officer. "Deploy all fighter squadrons. Activate phase shift carriers. Target the Ravager command ships first." The human fleet moved into formation, preparing to engage the enemy with weapons and tactics the Council had never seen before. For the first time in centuries, the Ravagers were about to face something they hadn't expected: humanity at war. The human fleet deployed in a formation no Council tactician recognized. Their dark ships moved with perfect coordination, arranging themselves into what appeared to be a three-dimensional web around the planet Kelshera Prime. The Council defenders watched in confusion. "What are they doing?" asked a Satani commander to his science officer. "That formation leaves gaps the Ravagers will exploit." Before the science officer could respond, the Ravager high ships launched their first attack wave, thousands of small fighter craft swarming toward the planet. They aimed directly for the apparent gaps in the human formation. Captain Henry Miller led the human fighter Squadron Eagle. His Neuralink connected him to his pilots, allowing them to communicate and react as one unit. "Wait for it," he told his team as the Ravager swarm approached. "Let them commit to the attack vector." When the Ravager fighters reached the midpoint between their hive ships and the human fleet, Admiral Wilson gave the command: "Activate phase shift carriers." Three massive human vessels suddenly lit up with blue energy. The space around them seemed to fold, creating shimmering portals. From these openings emerged hundreds of human fighters, appearing instantly behind the Ravager forces. "Eagle Squadron, engage," ordered Captain Miller. His fighters attacked the surprised Ravagers from behind, while the main human fleet closed the apparent gaps in their formation. The Ravagers found themselves caught in a three-dimensional trap. On the planet's surface, Colonel Ellen Price coordinated with local defenders. Council ground forces had been fighting a losing battle against Ravager landing parties. The aliens' biomechanical bodies could adapt to conventional weapons, making them increasingly difficult to kill. Conventional warfare failed against these things for centuries, Price explained to a Satani commander as human dropships landed nearby. "We specialize in unconventional thinking." From the dropships emerged human soldiers in powered armor, mechanical suits that enhanced their strength, speed, and protection. Each soldier carried weapons unlike anything the Council forces had seen. "Our intelligence suggests Ravagers share a local hive mind," Price continued. "They adapt collectively, but the adaptation spreads from a central node. We don't need to kill them all, just disrupt their network." The human soldiers spread out, their armor allowing them to jump incredible distances and punch through Ravager defenses. They weren't aiming for the largest concentrations of enemies, but for specific targets identified by their helmet sensors. In orbit, the battle continued. The human ships employed weapons that ignored traditional shields, firing kinetic projectiles at near-light speed. When Ravager vessels adapted, the humans simply switched tactics, using electromagnetic pulses, then gravity weapons, then something the Council scientists couldn't even identify. "They're not fighting like a unified force," observed a Council tactician watching the battle. "Each human ship seems to be using different weapons and strategies." A human communications officer responded, "That's intentional. The Ravagers adapt to patterns. We don't give them patterns to adapt to." On the largest Ravager high ship, something unprecedented happened. Human special forces had somehow transported directly onto the vessel. Their mission was to capture, not destroy. They moved through the ship with practiced efficiency, placing small devices at key junction points. Neural disruptors in place, reported the team leader back to Admiral Wilson. Ready to activate on your command. Wilson gave the order. Across the battlefield, the devices activated simultaneously. The Ravager forces suddenly lost coordination. Their adaptation stopped. Their movements became erratic. The Council forces, following Colonel Price's direction, struck at the confused Ravagers with devastating effect. For the first time in living memory, a Ravager assault was not just halted but decisively defeated. As the remaining Ravager ships retreated, the Council defenders stared in amazement at what they had just witnessed. Humans had accomplished in hours what the combined forces of 17 advanced species had failed to do for centuries. Captain Miller landed his fighter on the main human carrier. As he removed his neural interface helmet, a Council representative approached him with awe. "Your people are remarkable," the alien said. "How did you develop such tactics?" Miller wiped sweat from his forehead. "When Admiral Carter withdrew from your council, we knew we needed to prepare for anything, including war. We've spent 2 years doing nothing but developing new technologies and strategies. But how did you know they would work against the Ravagers?" Miller smiled. "We didn't. We just made sure we had many different options. Adaptability has always been humanity's greatest strength." 6 months after the Battle of Kelshera, representatives from Earth arrived at Proxima Station. The journey was symbolic. Humans could have used their phase shift technology to arrive instantly, but they chose a traditional approach to show respect for the occasion. Admiral William Carter led the delegation, now with silver in his hair from the years of pressure and responsibility. The human representatives walked confidently through corridors where once they had been treated as inferiors. This time, alien diplomats stepped aside respectfully as they passed. The council chamber had been redesigned. The old hierarchical arrangement with elevated seats for powerful species was gone. In its place stood a circular table where all representatives sat at equal height. The message was clear. The old order had ended. Chancellor Eulofen rose as the humans entered. His blue skin had dulled with age, but his 4 arms moved with dignity as he formally bowed to Carter. "Admiral Carter, Earth has proven itself not just a member of the galactic community, but its savior. The old council would offer gratitude while hiding its shame. This new council offers something more valuable: honesty." Eulofen's voice carried through the silent chamber. "We mistook patience for weakness, dignity for technological inferiority. This error nearly cost us everything." Carter nodded, his face showing neither triumph nor resentment. "Chancellor, humanity does not seek apologies for the past, only partnership for the future." The new treaty between Earth and the Galactic Council was presented on the central table. Unlike the old proposals with their unfair demands and hidden clauses, this document established mutual defense, cultural exchange, and technological cooperation on equal terms. A special provision caught the attention of many council representatives: a protection for emerging spacefaring civilizations. Any newly discovered species would be guaranteed sovereignty and fair treatment. Humanity had ensured no other species would endure what they had experienced. As Carter signed the document with an old-fashioned pen, Ambassador Diane Powell leaned toward him. "Was this your plan all along?" she whispered. Carter watched representatives from 17 worlds applaud the new alliance. "Not exactly. But I knew once they saw humans for who we truly are, not who they assumed us to be, everything would change." He gestured to the stars visible through the station's viewport. "We didn't want war. We didn't want isolation. We just wanted respect." After the formal ceremony, Captain Henry Miller stood in the observation lounge with Tellurian Representative Narration. They watched as Earth ships and Council vessels conducted joint exercises, testing combined defense strategies against potential Ravager returns. "Your people are remarkable," Narration observed. "You could have conquered instead of saved." Miller smiled. "That's the thing about humans. We'll fight like hell if we must, but we'd rather build something together." He paused, watching a human fighter squadron fly in perfect formation with Citani vessels, species that had been enemies just months earlier. The mistake wasn't underestimating our technology, Miller continued. It was underestimating our humanity. On Earth, President Nelson addressed the United Nations once more. The screens behind him showed images from across the galaxy. Human scientists working alongside alien researchers, Earth ships helping rebuild worlds damaged by the Ravagers, children from different species playing together in newly established cultural centers. 3 years ago, we withdrew from a galaxy that saw us as lesser beings, Nelson said. Today, we return as equals, not through conquest, but through courage, not through dominance, but through determination. He smiled at the assembly. Humanity's greatest strength was never our weapons or our technology. It was our unwillingness to accept anything less than our full potential, our refusal to be defined by others' limitations. As Nelson spoke, a new ship launched from Earth's orbital shipyard. Unlike the dark military vessels built during isolation, this one gleamed silver in the sunlight. Named Unity, it was the first of a new class designed for exploration rather than war, built with combined human and council technology. Its mission: to seek out new civilizations, not to judge or conquer, but to welcome them as equals in a galaxy that had finally learned the true meaning of peace.